All right, what is up, everyone? Let's get straight into it. Happy Friday. We're not going to be starting with Euro USD today. We're going to be starting with gold. And we are still bullish. We've perfectly mitigated that refined demand PI, as you can see. That has been mitigated. And I will make this demand PI a lot less lighter now, or a lot more lighter, just because the overlapping refined demand, which was showcasing the true inefficiency, has been mitigated. So this demand isn't as potent anymore, if you will. Other than that, for gold, there's not really much more I can do. Reason being is this? I have a feeling this could not have been valid. This must have been mitigated. I reckon I would have looked at this and this had already been mitigated. I could be wrong, but we'll double check. Okay, it is valid. It's a valid supply. So yeah, we'll see what happens should gold come up here, and which it probably will. But yeah, other than that, there's not a whole lot more I can do. Yeah, overall context is still very bullish, so there's not really a whole lot more I can do other than let's just wait and see what price decides to do. Yeah, not a whole lot more that can be done. We're just going to have to leave this as is and yeah, wait for those POIs to get hit. Silver also looks to be pumping its push through supply twice. So yeah, you can see quite clearly here that Silver is very much so still very, very bullish. I'm trying to see if there's any sort of demand POIs that might be worth a close inspection. I'm seeing something on the 18-hour potentially. And then there might also be some demand here potentially, which we're gonna have to double check. In terms of this here, yeah, it's valid. It's not the cleanest, but it is valid. Yeah, well, on silver, we're bullish across every single time frame here, so I would only expect us to continue being bullish. Yeah, the only thing I would do here is just let you all know to look for reaccumulation POIs. Do not try and short. We're very, very bullish. There's no reason to short. It's just a simple higher low for a higher high. That's what I'm predicting. I think we'll hit. We could hit all-time highs on silver potentially in the future. In the near future, that's a big supply POI is going to obviously be crucial to how and what happens, but at least for now we're going higher, and I can say that with full confidence. Was this something here? Okay. Yeah, I would not be looking, as much as this could be a potential distribution model, I would not be looking to short this, because yeah, it's a very, very pro long context. What I would do, however, is potentially look for even more refined POI for an accumulation point of view, but we do have this slightly larger POI, which I looked at earlier, but we'll see, because it may not necessarily be valid. So we'll double check this. It might be valid overlapping demand. It's kind of all been overlapped and mitigated. So I would therefore not be using this as a demand POI. And yeah, this as a whole just is not the nicest demand POI, to be completely honest. Yeah, not really the cleanest demand POI, and that had all been mitigated. As I've said, annoyingly, there's no real POI for me that price might want to retest off. The only potential thing would be liquidity here. So if we can accumulate somewhere around here after the sweeping some form of liquidity here, then I would be happy with that. Otherwise, not really much more that can be done. We have grabbed this monthly open. I don't really need this anymore. I'll clean up some of this chart as well. Okay, it's valid demand. It's not the greatest. We have mitigated supply, so definitely expect a temporary pullback, but overall the context still seems quite bullish for oil. So I would welcome just a simple retest, accumulate, continuation. I would very much so allow something like that to happen. But yeah, you can see we're very much so bullish. Give me a second, guys. All right. Boom. That could be a potential accumulation model. Favors the context very much. We've got some refined demand in here. Don't expect much of a reaction. We might get a minor reaction, but price might not even go as low as this demand. there was minor, very minor demand here. Actually, we did have some overlapping, which kind of got disrespected. Yeah, look, there's not really much more I can do for oil just yet. Yeah, let's see if we can hopefully create our second tap during London, come back up, and then maybe get a confirmation later down the track, maybe on Monday. If anything, I feel like we're going to get a confirmation in New York PM if we are to ever even get one, based on how this range is playing out, and I'll obviously be asleep then. But yeah, look, if you're awake, maybe you can, based on if you've been watching how I've been trading, you might be able to catch a move here. But yeah, other than that, not a whole lot more I can do. Just got to leave this as is and see what happens. Let's continue going through our charts. Well, there might be a potential model here. The only thing I don't like is how we, technically speaking, accumulated here, but that could be an accumulation with the purpose of creating our first deviation. So let's see what happens there. And then Asia low hasn't been swept, which I do like. Extra confluence there. Although it's something that we shouldn't discredit, that it is a counter context move. Like you can see, everything is still quite bullish. And the only reason that would make me want to trade this is because we're at a pivotal point on the weekly time frame. At the moment, it's an SFP. If we close like this, it will be an SFP on the weekly, which, as all SFPs are, or most SFPs are, you can then anticipate a return back down to the most recent swing low, which is right here. So from a distribution perspective, we could potentially catch the exact pivot point of this weekly high, which would get SFP'd, and then given that we failed to break structure, we would automatically anticipate a rotate all the way back down to this swing low. So from a weekly perspective, this distribution does have quite a bit of merit, but it's obviously a very you can get a big move or you can get stopped out. So yeah, look, if we get the confirmations, then I will potentially look at it. If we do get confirmations, it will most likely be next week, just based on how these 2-hour candles are. So yeah, if we SFP and we do close below, then we might wick it in the open, and then that could be a confirmation quite early and on Monday. So we will see what happens then and there. Obviously there's somewhat of demand here, but it's not really clean demand. Like it hasn't grabbed anything. It hasn't really, it's just demand in an uptrend. But yeah, look, we'll leave this as is. Let's see what happens. I will allow a potential distribution model which can potentially result in a full rotation back down to the swing low. Oh my god! Holy fuck! Oi! What's going on? Dude, how do I stop this? Throw it outside, throw it outside. What's throwing it outside gonna do? Maybe it might like set on fire or something, I don't know. No, I was connected to my phone. No, the flight that like very low. Non mi ha problemi. Lui mai încolo, dar nu stau acum să... Well, if you've heard that, then that is crazy. Give me far out. Well, apologies for the disruption there. I hope... I'm actually going to play some music from my phone. That was crazy. That was actually wild. I hope the mic hasn't been affected though. What? We'll see when we upload it. It looks fine to me now, so... Alright. GBP USD. Yeah, so we've we've discussed this. There's not a whole lot more I can do. It is semi-counter context, but because we are at this weekly high, which I may as well mark out, because we are at this weekly high, then expect there was our break, there was our low, and then we've deviated this, so this does, oh, actually, yeah, it does, because it's valid structure. Yeah, so this does become our weekly market structure high. So let's see what happens there. All right. Yeah, we'll move on. Not a whole lot more that we can do at the moment. Let me just double check that commodities was good. Yeah, commodities we've obviously checked, but I was just making sure that there was nothing I have missed. Yeah, I just will not be looking at that as a distribution. And then, yeah, oil, we have this potential accumulation, which is, yeah, in terms of context, this is as good as context can really get. All right, AUD USD. Well, we've pushed through all this. We're still on our way towards that daily high, so we're obviously still bearish on the daily. I have a feeling there might be some demand here. So let's validate this. Now, yes, this has been ever so slightly mitigated, but we can draw this line which shows where the inefficiency remains. So that is fine. But yeah, obviously it's been ever so slightly mitigated demand, but the rest of this move is still fine. Yeah, not a whole lot more to do. We're still fairly bullish. Other than the fact that the daily is bearish, we're still quite bullish. Yeah, look, this is just one of those prime moments where I'm trying to make something out of nothing. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I should be doing for this price action just yet. We do have liquidity, so I can see us coming back up. There is valid liquidity here. Yeah, we're just gonna have to leave this as is. Not a whole lot more that can be done. Euro GBP could be an interesting one to look at. Yeah, so we are actually still bullish. We are very much so still bullish here. We are leaving behind some nice sell-side liquidity. Do I think that's going to get taken out? Not necessarily. It's a bullish context. We've just left behind demand. There's no real reason for us to just start coming back down. We've also failed to break structure 3 times now on the 4 hour. Like, as of right now, this is this is semi decent model, but it's just in the worst possible location ever. So it's not something that I will trade, to be completely honest. Asia to low is probably somewhere nice as well. Yeah, look, I'm going to chart this just for my own data collection, but it's not something I'll take, and I wouldn't advise anyone to take it. It might even be a confirmed model by the looks of it. This could be a... Although it's not the most valid. Actually, there you go. It's kind of valid. That is a valid supply POI. I will allow that. So it's technically speaking a confirmed model. Very much so. Very much so. Like return to zones would be a, as I've said, I would only look at this from a data collection perspective. Great return to zone, mind you. Can I just say that is a beautiful, beautiful return to zone. Asia lows. We get the confirmation. How good though was the risk to reward ratio? So you could have entered here. To be fair, it might not have been the best. Oh, okay. You could have just snuck in a 2. And you might even have a re-entry opportunity here. Which, should we push up, you could actually take a very tight. Take a tight entry. And then just immediately de-risk. Have we broken any other key levels of market structure? We may have actually broken it on the 10. So initially we've no, we have broken it on the 10, mind you. Yeah, so we've broken it pretty much on the, yeah, we have broken it on the 10 minute as well. Price action here is interesting. Like, look, return to zones are great. Context is somewhat neutral to even counter because it's a low time frame. It's a low time frame short, and the low time frame context is bullish. And we've ever so slowly mitigated this heavy demand. It's a very we might not even get the confirmation, the reconfirmation. But as I said, it's a good trade to journal from. But yeah, I do have my POIs set. All right, and we will see what happens. Looking at Euro NZD. How valid is this supply really? I think it's fairly valid. There might have been a minor mitigation, but as I have before, you can allow that. Yeah, minor mitigation, but there's still quite a bit of an inefficiency here, which we can mark up or mark out. We even have some refined supply in here, which may have been mitigated as a matter of fact. Yes. Yes, look, so it's a fairly bearish context. We're in this very awkward low time frame range bound price action in here. If we do get a distribution later down the track, it's just way too low time frame for me to, yeah, look, it's just not. Let's just leave this as is. I'm not going to try and make something out of nothing here when I shouldn't be. So we will leave Euro NZD as is. And we'll look at GBP NZD, which looks like it's very close to that market structure low on the 4 hour. Similar to the other pair, which I think was, well, it may have been GBP USD. Yeah, so similar to GBP USD where we're approaching a weekly high with the potential of SFPing it. The same thing could happen here on a slightly more local scale for GBP NZD where we are approaching the 4 hour market structure low and we could potentially SFP it, thus resulting in a rotation all the way back up. Only thing that I don't like, and it's quite easy for you to tell, is there is no return to zone whatsoever. Yeah, and then this range here is just not. Yeah, look, nothing I'll be doing here. There is nothing I can do for the price action at the moment. Looking at USD CAD. We're still fairly bearish here. The only thing I'll be doing here is looking for redistribution POIs, which we might not be seeing. If there's any refined supply here, I'm willing to take a look at it, but it doesn't look like there is. This has all been mitigated. This has been mitigated like so. Yeah. There's just not that much. The only thing there is a little bit of liquidity here, which might get grabbed at a later date. Other than that, there's just nothing on USD CAD at the moment. Yeah, we're just going to leave USD CAD as is. We'll look for pullback opportunities, but I'm not going to be looking for longs in that bearish of an environment. In terms of the weekly low, boom. Weekly low is this. Yeah, we'll leave USD CAD as is and we'll see what happens down the track. GBP JPY. Well, I like to think that we are bullish now in the hourly. Surely. Yeah. Bullish on the hourly. And obviously still bearish on the hourly. So at the moment, the only thing that I would say is still look for a potential distribution upon mitigating the supply. And you can see we're probably going to mitigate the supply quite soon based on based on the buy sell liquidity that's being left behind in this move locally. But yeah, other than that, not a whole lot that I'm willing to do for this pair, for GBP JPY. The only thing that I will do is mark a potential demand PY if there is one here, and if it can be validated. I think there might be some overlapping demand that we can use. Yep. All right, let's look at USD CHF. There's just not much to do for GBP JPY. And as I've said time and time again, this is the nature of the business. If there isn't much, then don't try and force something. This actually looks like there could be something here. Maybe, we'll see. Asia low sitting at the market structure low, or at the range low, sorry, is perfect. We still have a feeling we could be bullish on the hourly, but we'll see. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, it's a weak break, but I will deem this as bullish on the hourly. Because as much as we have SFP, the candles that followed have closed above this, so that's fine. And we're bullish on the 2 hour as well, actually. So three hour as well? No, 3 hour is still bearish, so yeah, just the hourly and the 2 hourly. Yeah, look, let's see what happens. If conditions permit us, I would favor a distribution in this environment. Yes, we have just mitigated demand and there is supply above, but if we get nice confirmations, that'd be satisfactory for me. Yes, we have also just transitioned to being bullish on the hour and the 2 hour, so obviously proceed with caution there. But yeah, if you get a nice return to zone and a great break, I need a great break and a nice return to zone, then I'm willing to risk 0.5%. Otherwise, yeah, we're just gonna have to be patient. All right, let's look at GBP AUD. You know, we'll move USD CHF to the top for now. GBP AUD. Was bullish, I believe. Bum, bum. Bam, bam. Yeah, and we are now bearish on the hour. We might still be bullish on the 4. Well, for now we are, depending on how we close here, will actually be quite pivotal for us. You know what? I would rather use this. We have left behind supply, so we might even go into being bearish on the 4. My only query is to myself is the demand in here, how much of it was mitigated, and is there any overlapping? No, okay. No, so it's not valid because it has all been mitigated, as you can see. This got mitigated by that, this got mitigated by that, this has been mitigated by that. So before I make this demand green, I will delete it because it is invalid. All right, I'll leave this as is. And then, yeah, there's not much more that I can do right now for GBP AUD. Yeah, look, it's not really valid demand as per se. Yeah, I'm not going to be using this. Yeah, well, once again, trying to make something out of nothing. GBP AUD, not a whole lot that I can do for this pair right now, so I'm just going to have to leave it as is and move on. USD JPY. Well, we've mitigated supply. we still are quite bearish by the looks of it. Yeah, that's fine. It's just a weekly, which is bullish. Which is obviously part of this higher time frame. Yeah, this will be our weekly low. Yeah, locally there's not much on this pair either. We're just gonna have to leave it as is, ladies and gents. We're officially bullish on the hour. That's our bullish break right there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's a valid break. It's a very valid break, which was done today. So we're bullish on the hourly, and then yeah, we're obviously still bullish on the 4. So it's a bullish context, guys. Let's keep an eye out for reaccumulations, plain and simple. Yeah, I'm going to leave this as is and just look for reaccumulation here. I'm not going to try short anything whatsoever. It's not the right environment to do so, so I will leave this as is. Let me just double check GBP, JPY before I go to NZD CAD. We've just mitigated part of this demand POI. Well, depending on how we close in 7 minutes, we might be bearish on the hourly here, which would make the context very, very interesting. At the moment, we could have this for shorts, potentially. All right. Yeah, it's not really valid supply, to be honest. It's all been mitigated. And it's built up of liquidity as well. Wrong drawing here. So what? That whole massive speaker beep from earlier completely threw me off. I'm curious as to how it... I'm going to have to watch back the footage and see what it looked like. Because that was crazy. Oh my goodness. GBP JPY is, yeah, not a whole lot more that I can do. We'll just have to leave this as is. We've done GBP AUD. That wasn't a whole lot to work with. USD JPY as well. Yeah, we've done that as well, and there wasn't a lot to work with there either. AUD CAD. We have also done that. Same thing, let's just wait for a reaccumulation opportunity. NZD CAD, this is where we were last charting. Yeah, we're still bullish on the hourly. I'm not going to look at this for as an accumulation, as a distribution, especially with this heavy demand, heavy demand. And we are in the premium section of this high time frame range, so do expect to go lower, to go higher, sorry, and grab these POIs. For NZD CAD at the moment, there's not much. There really isn't. There really isn't. The only thing I'd look at is this. Is there valid demand here? No. Mitigated. Which isn't honestly a bad thing. It really isn't. In terms of the Asia sessions, yeah, it was already a low time frame, low probability move just because it's semi-counter context. Low time frame is bullish, where I'm looking at a fairly low time frame bearish model here. And to add to that low probability setup, we've also got Asia low and high ungrabbed. And the reason I say this is because the Asia high is at a very awkward spot, being quite high up outside of our range deviation limit, or within our range deviation limit, but outside of our range. So for this to be a valid model, I would essentially need us to come low, not sweep Asia low, and slowly start creating a return zone. Once again, this is probably, if this was to confirm, it'd probably confirm like very close to market close or even Monday. And then we grab this, boom. That would be the only thing that would make this valid. And you probably wouldn't take this by then because we've moved too high up. It looks like market structure. It's probably going to be Monday market open. We're in a bullish low time frame context, and I would rather than, if it ends up looking like this, I would so much rather just look at this as a whole new range altogether. So yeah, that's my thought process there. Not much more to do. Let's focus on the higher time frame context here. Euro USD, we have broken to bullish on the daily. Yeah, we're bullish across everything here. Same as I've said, let's look for reaccumulation POIs. Well, in such a bullish such a bullish context, there's not much to do. The only thing you could potentially look at is maybe a distribution here. And that's it. Yeah, this is all I can do for Euro USD. Semi-counter context range development. Let's see what happens. And then AUD CHF. We're very close to approaching supply. Still bearish on the alley though, so yeah, if we can get anything here, then yeah, by all means. By all means, it's something, but we're not going to get anything today, that's for sure. We'll see how price develops when we're about to hit this supply POI. Yeah, we obviously failed to break the weekly. Yeah, this could be a topping formation, so we could expect us to reject and then just continue lower with the beautiful high time frame return to zone below with this SFP of the weekly high failure to break to bullish on the weekly. This could just be your, honestly, it can just be your typical topping formation. Boom, boom. But yeah, it could be something worth monitoring for the rest of the day. So I will move this to the top. As much as no real model is forming here, it's more so I'm intrigued to see how we reject from this POI. So I'll move this to the third. And that's it for today, guys. Focus on USD, CHF, GBP, USD potentially. AUD, USD. Well, here was this counter context move on Euro GBP. That's why I don't enter counter context moves, guys. And then in commodities, the only thing that we were monitoring was, I believe, oil, which was pro context, I believe. Yes. So yeah, let's see what happens here. Ideally, we don't take out this Asia high and we continue lower. So yeah, we will see what happens. I'll also mark out Asia low. Sweet. Easy. That is all for today, guys. Thank you for listening, for viewing, subscribe if you've made it this far. Hope you enjoyed the little speaker jump scare there. And I'll catch you all soon. Peace.